What Becky shared is very valid for us that when we work for different organizations, people have different view of work together. And I did run return to office program, try to encourage people come back to work. And then the biggest obstacle or the strongest opinion is that do we really make, is this going to lose the productivity or can we really make the work in the way that we used to? Like no matter some people would put definition for used to is before the COVID. Some people would say, well, before you call us back, we are pretty much settled. Work from home is as productive as before. So why you want us to travel and spend 2 hours, 3 hours on the way to work or back from home, from the office? That's not productive. So we have to find a way to balance with different preference, different job scope, different team, different manager. That's a lot of things that we want to share. I want to learn from this group as well. What is the recipe you're using for your organization? I do see from top leader, they want us back to work as normal because they can see you in the office. They know you're doing work. You're not playing golfing. But if employees, they say, hey, I work from home, it's more productive than I'm in the office because, like you said, people chat around. I got distracted. I could be more focused and get more work done at home. So we have to convince everyone move towards to a way to work together, which kind of make everyone happy. It seems like impossible, but how we want to make it work. Yeah, that's just my puzzle. Also sharing with the team.
Mhm.
If I could
Thank you.
jump in on
Perfect.
that one, Chris. There's a
Oh,
report.
yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned the executive perception. There's a complete like
Mhm.
mismatch between executives' concept around productivity and employees' concept around productivity.
Yeah.
So Microsoft did a workplace index report on this, and 87% of the employees said that they feel productive in the remote environment, and executives had it was 12% of people who were executives felt that they were fully comfortable with people's productivity. So it's almost literally the exact opposite to like 1%. And I think it's understandable, right? They came through that system themselves. So like it
Mhm.
worked for them to get to the executive level. So they see themselves as a productive, keen contributor to the company and an operator, and they will look through that bias at themselves and say, this system worked for me. I was able to flourish in this system. Therefore, the
Mhm.
system works. So you have to unframe that. But yeah, even like generally, like even Becky's kind of story there rings true around the productivity. The caveat to this is you will find companies who are more productive with a fully in office than when they tried remote. You'll find the opposite is true across the board as well. The issue isn't necessarily around the model. I think it's how you execute on either of those two models that impacts your productivity most. You can be a fully in office company and have really high productivity and do really well, and you can be a fully remote company and have really high productivity. The thing it comes down to is how do you measure productivity and how do you build culture so that it optimizes for that. And I actually think we do the wrong thing in trying to measure productivity, because we should try and measure where we're losing productivity. So like the unproductivity piece. Numbers on it are that, like, when you ask employees themselves in a fully remote, fully flexible model, they say there's about a 39% increase in productivity. So there's two ways of doing it. Do you look at the balance sheet, the P&L, and say, well, look, our ultimate goal
Mm,
here is shareholder value. Therefore, our metric for productivity is revenue or profit. Okay, that's one way of doing it. I don't necessarily think it's the right one fully, but even if that's your method, companies who offered full flexibility had 21% increase in profits between 2020 and 2022. Companies that had an in-office requirement, not fully in office, just an in-office requirement, only saw 5% increase. So essentially the difference between full flexibility and any mandated time in the office was 16% in adjusted revenue. So Flex Index did that report. They had like 554 companies that they looked at, and it's evident there. I think, however, Becky touched on it there around it's unmeasurable in some capacities around the cultural impact, burnout impacts productivity. You're 4.6 times more likely to leave your job if you're feeling burnt out. 43% of people are a little more likely to say that they're burned out if they're in an office environment. So there's loads of stats I could fire at you, but I think the narrative and the story is more important. Of if you take an example of a team of, let's say 4 engineers and a manager, or 4 marketers and a manager, what's the thing that's going to impact productivity the most in that team, and work backwards from that. The first thing is, if one of them leaves, right, that you're instantly 25% lower in your individual contributors. Okay, if those people are burnt out, if they're wasting unnecessary time in meetings, if they're not clearly aligned on the strategic alignment of their job to the function's overall OKR and the function's impact on the overall mission of the company. Some of those things are irrelevant whether you're in office, whether you're fully remote, but you should look at it from the opposite side of the coin. I think what's going to impact like negatively on productivity rather than positively.